Well, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods this morning. You know, I am a creature of habit to the point where I have to do things the same way or else I don't get into a groove. You know, it's like every morning I sit down here, of course, I get a sip of coffee, I turn on the lights, I get a second sip of coffee, I switch to this camera, and I welcome all of you here because it puts me into that boom, that mood or that trance of doing the show. Most of the times I've got an outline in my head of the subject, but I don't have a script. I just go. And if you were to ask me right after doing a video, what did I talk about? Most times I can't really tell you because it just flows out. It just happens. And you get used to doing that on a regular basis. But then when something changes, it makes it that much more difficult. And of course, I don't have coffee this morning. And so it's really thrown me out of whack. So forgive me if I'm not quite there. I've got actually orthoscope for my knee, for my meniscus. I have a complex tear, which means it's torn in a couple of different directions in it that they're going to try and go in. It's a routine cleanup to try and, alleviate some of the pain and buy me some time on this leg before needing to have a knee joint replacement. I had a flesh-eating bacteria back in 1994 with 3 surgeries on it, and unfortunately it's gotten arthritic and things, and we're dealing with that. But the normal recovery on this is 2 to 4 weeks, they say. And, I can expect to have hopefully a full recovery unless there's complications. Knowing me, I'm going to shoot for the 2 weeks because my other knee, back when I was in high school, I tore my ACL completely, had orthoscopic surgery to remove it because they weren't good enough at that time with the technology to put in, to rebuild the anterior cruciate. And I played football 2.5 weeks later, but I am a lot older now. So let's get on to the show this morning. Talking about cleanup surgery and recovery time. I'm not a professional athlete any longer, so it's a little bit different, of course, for where my recovery needs to be than where, say, Amari Cooper does. Amari Cooper, back in January, had orthoscopic surgery on his ankle, which was deemed just a maintenance cleanup. We're going to go ahead and smooth some things out, get rid of any bone spurs or whatever. That's typically what that kind of surgery is. 2 little holes in there, a couple of stitches, and you're done. Now, the only working out that we have seen this off season was actually here back in February. And I'll play the clip of Amari Cooper working out here.
I'm not lying. No, I'm not.
Now you can see on this, he's kind of walking around like I do with a bit of a limp. You can see him kind of laboring with this. This is a month after surgery. Now, it's great that he's out playing with the kids because the kids, that could be a future Cowboy right there that'll remember the day that Amari Cooper was throwing the football around with us. And this was a beautiful thing. Now, I personally want to see my quarterback, Dak Prescott, throwing the football around with Amari Cooper. That's what I really want to see. And it's got me worried. I don't know if anybody else out there is kind of concerned on this, but when we talk about surgery in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, and into August, that is 7 months on a routine cleanup. Make no mistake about it, Amari Cooper is key on this offense as well because, people will say, oh, CeeDee Lamb is so great. We can just, no, you got to understand that these guys do so well because of the guys that are around them. If you take Amari Cooper away, then that means you can have double coverage on CeeDee. or your other guys aren't as big of a threat. It's kind of like a defensive line. You can have one outstanding player, but if you don't have other guys to go along with it, their numbers will go down. Or sometimes that outstanding player causes teams to say, we're going to stop DeMarcus Lawrence. We're going to double team him. But then the other guys have a little easier go about it, and their numbers get skewed because the focus is on that guy. And that's how it is with this offense. You want your offense to be death by 1,000 cuts, that because there's so many different weapons to stop, you can't stop them all. And if you focus in on one guy, it's okay. This guy can take up the slack. And that's why Amari Cooper is so important on the offense. Now, here's the thing that has me worried, and maybe I'm worrying about something we don't need to worry about. But you think about Dak Prescott completely breaking his ankle, having surgery to rebuild it, and then having clean-out surgery in October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. He was working out and getting stronger every single day. That once he started working out, there was less and less concern. They were doing more and more and more. So we're talking about Amari Cooper's recovery taking as long as Dak Prescott, who had 2 major surgeries. One was a cleanup. Amari just had a cleanup. So the question is, were we misled on how much damage there actually was in the ankle? Was there more damage than what we were told? Now, when looking at this clip, you don't see, anything out there where you're worried about an infection. Like Alex Smith, of course, had the halo to hold his leg together, so it wasn't structural like that. But you can have complications from surgery. You could have nerve damage. You could have arterial damage where you've got bleeding in there. You could have, doctor missed and hit something that he shouldn't have hit. Or was there other problems with the ankle? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm just putting the question out there that it seems like this, it seems to be a longer recovery than what was thought. Now, Mike McCarthy, during minicamp, of course, was saying that, that they're not real worried about the ankle and that he should be okay some point during training camp. But if he's having a hard time getting back on the field at training camp, will this be something that's going to linger or get injured easily during camp? I don't have the answer for that, but I'd really like to get a little bit more clarity on this. For the most part, the Dallas Cowboys actually are in good shape as far as the injury front goes. It seems like people that we had so many concerns with Dak, with Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins, the guys that we were worried about the most, we're not worrying about. We didn't go really into the offseason. It was kind of a surprise when we heard that Amari Cooper, a week after the season ended, was having surgery. When you had the list of guys that we said we got to get healthy, at the end of the season, Amari Cooper wasn't the one that you thought you got to circle and say he's not going to be ready for training camp. You said, is Dak, is Lyle Collins, is it time for Tyron Smith to retire? We looked at all of these guys and said, we don't know that they're going to be able to be there, but they're there. The guy that we didn't worry about isn't ready. So the team should have some concerns about that and the healing on it. I hope that everything goes well and that he is, back to being Amari Cooper, because we need him if we're going to have a season that we want to have. And we'll follow along with my knee surgery, so that way you can see at least basically what a cleanup surgery will be like and the recovery time for me at least. And I know I'm an old man that's not playing on an NFL level and stuff, but it at least gives some context that I'm not just pulling stuff out of my rear end, that at least I can tell you, hey, this is what's going on. Here's the amount of pain that's on here. Here's how it felt before, and here's how it felt after. And with that being said, I got to go get the rest of my stuff together so I can get this surgery done. But you know me, I've always got to bring you the news on the Dallas Cowboys. And don't be surprised if I'm in a hospital bed still bringing you the news on the Dallas Cowboys. But you know what time it is.
Watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Sports Report. You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is